Hello everyone and welcome to the Very Reasonable Pilots podcast. I'm your host Charles. Along with me as always my co-host, editor, producer, co-pilot, gunner, navigator, orator, and podcasting associate Jacob Cloth. How you doing today, Jacob?
I am swell, Charles. How are you?
I'm good. Are you ready to imagine a televisual series for myself and all the viewers?
Tell us about it? Super ready. Very excited.
Good. I want to hear about it. I'm gonna guess. Let me guess a genre.
Okay.
I'm going to guess this is some sort of a comedy, because we've been doing pretty serious stuff lately. This is like a kind of an absurdist comedy.
Maybe a little absurdist. I have pitched this idea to you before, but not as a TV show. As a thing that we should do.
Oh.
Does that narrow it down for you?
Suicide Pact? That doesn't sound very funny.
Maybe a couple months ago, I sent you a text about free land.
Oh my God!
in Nebraska, that they're handing out to people that moved there.
Yeah.
And
young professionals like ourselves.
I sent this to a lot of people, and I was kind of joking, but also kind of thinking, like, it would be really cool if I could convince all of my friends to move to this town.
Yeah.
And we could all live there and take it over.
And run it.
You know what I mean?
We are the law. We become the Judge Dreads of this town.
Government. Yes, we become the government. We get, we elect ourselves to the positions. We
all have badges.
Get, got lots of funding. We build frickin'
statues to dedicate to ourselves.
Little, college paradise, because like we all just somewhat graduated.
Yeah.
Of, new ideas, full of young people. All of them, which are your friends, which is kind of the dream, living near your friends.
Yeah, exactly, but not with your friends. Like, you all have your own houses, but
we all have our own little houses
next door.
It'd be great.
Yeah.
We could do, whatever we want. People could have remote jobs so that they could bring money in. You could, if you wanted to build a store, we could probably secure some money from the government to do that.
Yeah, the government loves giving money away. Yeah.
Well, if you control it, then yeah.
Yeah. So when are we moving in?
Well, we're not, unfortunately. These people in the show are.
Oh,
so the show is about a college students moving to a small Nebraska town that's giving free land to people who move there. So the show is called Paris, Nebraska, and the town's called Paris as well.
I like that. That's a good name.
I like it too, because there are a lot of those. There might actually already be a Paris, Nebraska. I didn't bother to look it up.
Yeah, maybe. You know what? I'm gonna check while you're explaining the characters.
So we got a lot of characters because a lot of people are moving to this town, and I'm open to even more characters being added because basically everyone in the show, besides a couple of people, are people that have moved to the town that are part of this extended friends group. Because when I had this idea as like a real thing, I was like, well, I don't have enough friends in one friend group to make this possible.
Yeah.
So what I need to do is get all of my friends from all my different friends groups, from high school, from college, family friends, and then I need to get them to get their friends as well. So we have this, like, network of people.
This commune. Yeah, there is no Paris, Nebraska. I googled Paris, Nebraska, and all that came up was flights from Paris to Nebraska.
Well, no one would do that, so why do they have flights?
I have no idea.
So, you need a lot of people to get this going, because you couldn't just, drop in. So what I'm saying is that, if you had a character idea, you could pitch it in, you'd like, but I'm going to run through a bunch of them that I have here. Okay. So the central person here, his name is Fred Friese, or Fries, as they call him for short. He's I've done this shtick before. He's a history major, who just graduated college, and I had some friends that were history majors, and there's not really any hope for a profession after you graduate with a history major, unless you go to grad school.
Besides getting a master's in history and then teaching history to the next generation of history majors.
Yeah, there's not really, you could become a historian, but you still need more grad school for that.
Yeah.
Just with one history degree, a bachelor's, you can't really do much. So Fries, he's smart, but a little bit erratic, and with strong passing fancies, so he's a smart guy, but like he'll get really into something for like a week and then he'll be done with it, which is sort of how this Paris, Nebraska thing is. Like he's all about it. You know, he gets so taken into it, right?
Yeah.
And he wants to. So his dream is to start a Parisian cafe in Nebraska. Like the idea of like he wants to have a coffee shop in Nebraska, but like a Parisian cafe, you know, with like the awnings going out, the nice little tables.
It doesn't matter how cold it is.
Inside.
It doesn't matter if it's raining or snowing.
Not that cold.
I've never been to Nebraska, and I
probably
never
very
will.
Similar, temperate to Paris. But I mean, besides the fact that it's, you know, very flat.
Yeah, and corn.
Like, you know, weather-wise, very similar.
Tornadoes.
Next
everywhere.
we have Ed Bunk. This is one of my favorite names here, Ed Bunk.
I like that name a lot, Ed Bunk. It sounds like an
a bit
insult.
of a whack job. He's Fries' roommate in college. He studied urban planning.
Okay.
And he has absolutely no plans, didn't do any internships, did absolutely nothing to prep for college being over. But isn't, like, really fazed by that, just sort of imagines it will work out somehow.
Yeah. That's what I do.
He studied urban planning, but he has very radical ideas about how we should do urban planning.
Like all streets should be raised or something crazy.
No, it's more like there's a author we both like, his name's Hunter S. Thompson. And he ran for sheriff.
Aspen, Colorado.
Kind of the urban planning is coming from that, and he had some pretty radical ideas about how they should reset up Aspen, Colorado, with, like, you know, getting rid of cars and like
legalizing
you have to walk
all
everywhere
drugs.
and like getting rid of all sidewalk or getting rid of all roads. Stuff like that. So he's gonna have, like, you know, he hates cars. He hates like American car culture. He's a big horse guy. He likes trolleys. So not trains, not the metro. He likes trolleys. Like
trolleys.
Yeah. So big fan of trolleys.
Mail carriers are all on dog sleds. Roller skates for all.
He doesn't like. He's big on, like, every building should have, like, a store underneath it. Like, everyone should live on top of a store. And there should be no sort of codes on how buildings look like. They should all be just however they look like, you know?
Yeah.
Ed Bunk's going to be a big determiner on how the town looks. Next, we have Hillary Green. They call her Hills for short because she always talks about how she had an internship at Capitol Hill. So she's a big, you know... Like, she's always bragging about, oh, well, when I was on the Hill, blah, 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 I saw Senator blah, and everyone's like, shut the fuck up, Hillary. No one gives a shit. So they call her Hills because of that. Also, her name's Hillary.
Yeah, and her last name is Green, like a green hill, like Green Hills.
Yep.
Yeah, lots of hill puns going on. Is that pun?
Yeah, a lot of these names are jokes. She's obsessed with power and being in charge of the government and sees town as a chance to climb the ladder. So she sees this opportunity as, like, okay, I can get my friends to elect me mayor. And mayor is a stepping stone to, like, you know, either governor or a representative position, and then I can become senator, and then next I'll be president of the United States. Right?
Yeah, that's how it works.
She's a cutthroat, you know, politician who wants power. She'll do anything she can get to get power. And then we have Phil Marks and Carly Marks. They're high school sweethearts that married in college in the forest.
They got married in the forest?
Got married in the forest in college. So, like, there might have been, like, a forest. Like, if we do, like, a flashback to this, they'd be like, well, we were married in the forest. And then Ed Bunk would be right next to him. And they're like, it was, like, a couple feet off campus. It was, like, the little, you know, park they have.
Like, it was the island in the middle of a highway that's got, like, a few trees on it.
Yeah. And, like, it would have the flashback and it would be really zoomed in. It looks all natural, and then we zoom out and we see what he's talking about, how it's just, like, really not that
There's an Arby's next door. It's not a big deal.
So Phil and Carly Marks, they're like, Marks, by the way, is M-A-R-K-S, not...
Oh, you know, not Marks as in Marks. Marks as in Mark.
Well, I mean, that's kind of the joke, you know. So it's they're real naturalists. They're into farming, weed, and communism. Phil used to be a jock, so he's the stereotypical. We know a couple people like this. Who used to be one way. Maybe very conservative. That is the case for Phil. He used to be very conservative, but then he met Carly in college, and he's essentially become a different person. Sort of like John Lennon,
Yeah.
He was one way, and then all of a sudden, completely different person once he starts dating this person,
Yeah, exactly.
But not like in a bad way. Like he used to be like a football guy, used to be a little bit conservative, but didn't know about politics at all.
Yeah.
And then he meets Carly, and now
heads.
he's like a hippie, smoking weed, really kind of skinny dude. Wears like big circle glasses, has long hair. Like he looks like John Lennon now. Is what I wrote.
Okay, good.
And Carly, she's very well read and smart, but really lazy. Like she's, will talk about communism and, the problems with society, but doesn't actually want to do anything about it,
She'd rather just complain.
Yeah, she wants to complain and smoke some weed and check on her tomatoes and lounge around the house.
It sounds pretty good, man. It sounds like a good life.
Next character we have is Maria Magetti. She's an Italian exchange student who wants to start an Italian restaurant. Barely speaks any English. Super passionate, loud, and intense. And an important thing for later is she's not a citizen.
Okay.
She was supposed to go home after college was over.
Okay.
And she did not.
She is illegally immigrated.
She's illegally staying, yes. Doesn't really even realize that, though. She's like, I finished college, now I go to start my restaurant.
Now I get a job, make a business.
Another character we have, I know this is a lot, it'll make sense. It'll be easier once we get in the episodes, but...
Yeah.
We have Parvati Singh. She's a law student at the University of Nebraska, so she went to school with them. She did pre-law, and now she's studying at University of Nebraska so that she can be nearby.
Now she's doing post-law.
Well, she's doing law school.
I know.
Pre-law. Yes,
pre-law,
pre-law
post-law.
to do post-law. So there's no actual law. You do before, you do after. There's nothing.
She works for the post office. She's a lawyer for the post office.
Very smart and good with dealing the legal loopholes and bullshit that they need to work through to actually get their town to work and stuff. Always stressed out of her mind, but likes being panicked. One of those kind of people
those lunatics.
Always has the wide-eyed lunatic, but she likes it like that. And the only time she's calm is when she's at Magetti's restaurant, eating pasta or whatever.
Eating pasta, yelling at customers like a real Italian.
Next we have Harry Jones. He's was the president of the carpentry club at school. Likes working with his hands and being outside. Studied computer science, but hates it and has a remote job. And is not doing great mentally because of it. So he's the carpentry club president, so he's going to be one of the reasons they know how to actually build anything.
Yeah, he is working with Ed Bunk to build all of the places, and he's got all the weird creative ideas because he's, spends all day at home trying not to look at his, I assume, wood-paneled computer. I'm assuming this guy lives in, a wood cabin. Everything he owns is made out of wood. Or
probably made everything he has,
Yeah, and so he has a computer. But he's like, I can't have just this, sleek black plastic, metal, and glass. It has to be wood. So he's retrofitted it into being, an old 70s wood-paneled computer with wood keys.
That'd be pretty funny.
Yeah.
Next we have Farah Khan. She's a fashion student, runs the decoration and design store called Farah's. So she'll be in charge of sort of, making things look better, Yeah.
Because,
Ed Bunk and Harry Jones will be... building shit. Ed Bunk will be doing crazy shit, but Farrah will be like, all right, well, this actually needs to look good, so we'll plant some flowers and we'll, put these kind of drapes up and whatever.
Yeah. I'm assuming there will, at some point in the series, be a town, parade situation of some description.
Yeah.
And she's going to be the one who's, in charge of the parade. Ed Bunk's going to be in charge of planning where the parade goes, and the carpenter guy, what's his name?
Harry Jones.
Harry Jones is going to be building all the floats, but she's going to be like, all right, you go here wearing this, and you go here wearing this, and you dance, and you sing, and we have Elmo. We have this man dressed as Elmo. and he can jump around and do flips. And he tries, and he breaks his leg and just gets out of character and just starts screaming expletives at children.
Yeah. Farrah also, she's doing a remote job as well. A lot of these characters will have remote jobs in order to keep them, like, in the beginning of the show. They're all going to have that, all hate their remote jobs. And over time, they'll sort of get jobs in the community, doing what they actually want to do. She is super judgmental about what people wear and design their houses with in a very passive-aggressive way. Like, she'll really judge you on whatever you decided to wear that day. Lots of funny comments she'll have.
And it doesn't matter what you wear. I assume that she will be judgmental of everything you wear. It's like she'll, one day you'll wear like a purple shirt. She'll be like, oh, that shirt would look way better if it was pink. And then the next day you wear that same shirt pink. She's like, eh.
Yeah. Did you really go out of the house looking like that?
Jesus.
Oh. Is that what you picked out?
I think you need to get your glasses checked or something. Did you lose
next one I got is Angel Alvarez. Sorry, Angel Alvarez. He is a really good soccer player who plays for Sporting Kansas City, who's an MLS team. Kansas City obviously being somewhat close to Nebraska. It's the closest MLS team, so I had to pick that one.
If you say so.
Very humble. There's unfortunately not an MLS team in Nebraska. So he's a very humble guy, best friends with Harry. We could make up one, I guess. Nebraska.
Well, I was just going to say, we have like we put Paris, Nebraska, like in like a weird dead zone, like of land. Yeah. That could be like a whole episode in and of itself. Is that the lawyer character? She finds out that due to the charters of the states, Paris, Nebraska is actually not technically in Nebraska or Kansas. It's in like its own like little area.
Yeah.
So they don't have to. They can have all the uranium depositories that they want. And so they make a bunch, and then turns out everybody's got radiation sickness.
They all die.
They all die, and that's the end of the show. End of the season.
So Angel, he's a professional soccer player, plays in the MLS. He went to their school and played college soccer for them. Very spiritual, and has a meditation Zen garden studio. Like people come and they meditate.
They meditate.
He believes in ghosts and runs basically the Ghostbusters in the town.
Okay.
There'll be a Ghostbusters episode.
Yeah. Okay. Good. I
got 3 more characters here. We're almost done.
That's fine.
We have Nate Pan. Nate built a cabin in the woods by himself, off the land in seclusion.
Yeah.
He lost his mind. So in the first episode, he'll be with them. He'll be a normal guy. And he'll be like, oh, I'm going to go build my house way over here. And they're like, oh, that's weird. Okay, you do that.
Yeah.
And he lives way out in the woods. He loses his mind and doesn't really want to come back to friends and civilization. He, like, hunts for food. And, he lives... He's one of those people, He wants to live in seclusion.
He's a prepper.
But he does come back for Sunday book club.
Oh, okay, good. The Jane Austen book club or whatever.
Yeah. It's like all the girls have a book club, and it's also him.
Also, he's an avid reader. He loves reading. Also, it's his weekly bit of social contact.
But he's not there to socialize. He's there to argue because he has very strong feelings about the book and the way things happened.
Yeah. Of course, as we all do.
Yes. Next we have the final 2 people, Betty and Brian Blind. So they run the town diner, and they're not too enthused about the kids taking over their small town.
Oh, okay, yeah.
So these are adults, older people. Brian is the current sheriff, and does all he can to get rid of the kids.
He's always looking for a reason to get rid of them.
Yep. All right, so those are the characters. I know it's kind of confusing. There's a lot of names there, but I'll be tossing them in through here.
Yeah, we'll figure it out. I'm assuming you'll describe these people. Like I know all of their various characteristics. We have the Unabomber. We have the lawyer. We have do we have a doctor? No, we don't have a doctor. We have the city planner. We have the historian. We have the woodworker. I get it.
Yeah. The ones you really need to remember are Fred Friese. He's the sort of the Ted Mosby, the main sort of character, but not really the there isn't really a main protagonist, but if anyone is the main protagonist, it's him.
Yeah.
Because it's his idea to do this.
We'll see it from his perspective the most.
Yeah. Then Ed Bunk, also very important, and Hillary Green. They're sort of like the Harry, Hermione, and Ron.
Okay.
For, Ed
Ed being
the
central
Ron,
trio.
Fred being Harry, and Hillary being Hermione.
Yeah.
So, yeah. Pilots. Very exciting. It's graduation day. Everyone is running around taking pictures. We just had the big speech. Fred is smiling through the pictures, but he's a little worried about something. You can see in his eyes, like, the smile isn't really cutting it, because people keep asking of him, like, the family members and his parents and other kids at the school keep going and be like, oh, so what are you doing after this? And he's like, we're just, figuring things out. And then another person asks, he's like, just applying to some jobs, still waiting to hear back from some stuff. And everyone's talking about what they've got. And they're like, oh, I've got a job here and a job there. And, I just accepted a position at this place and they're paying me $60,000 a minute.
A minute?
Like, that's so cool.
Oh, that's so cool. Good for you. Not that either of us would know what that feeling is like at all.
No. Anyway, cut to his room late at night. He's, actually, no, sorry. I skipped ahead a little bit there. So cut to, he's at a party, an after party, celebrating graduation.
Yeah.
And he's talking with his friends, hanging out. We'll see a lot of the faces here that we see in the show.
Mm-hmm. I'm assuming there'll be one big graduation picture with all of these main characters.
Yeah.
And then we go check up on them, and we find, they've all changed drastically.
Yeah, that'd be good. Like,
classic comedy.
We have, in their town hall or whatever, we have the graduation photo there, and we hang out like a town photo as well at the end of the show. And that's like how they've changed throughout. So Fred, he's at a party with all these characters, and people are still asking him questions about, what he's doing after, and he pulls up his phone, dodging the questions. He pulls up his phone, he goes into his email, and he sees that, like, he's been rejected from everything.
Yeah.
Everything he applied to didn't work out, all the grad schools, and he's, just a little worried. And he's kind of panicking, and so he goes to the bathroom, and you can see him just sitting on his phone, like, like, he's so panicked about this, like, he needs to job search right now at this party.
Oh,
and
yeah.
So he's going through like applications, applying to stuff, looking at more job applications, seeing he was rejected. And he's scrolling through his phone doing this when he sees an ad for this town in Nebraska that's giving away free land. And he's like, he looks at it and he's like, in this moment of, nothing's working out for me.
Yeah.
Why not? And as I said, he can get very, picked up on things and very passionate. And so he goes out and he starts, telling his friends about it, like, as a joke. He's like, oh, yeah, wouldn't it be crazy if we all moved to Paris, Nebraska? And they're like, oh, that'd be so crazy. A few drinks later at the party, and he's like, okay, maybe we should do this. Like, maybe it would be cool if we actually did this. He started trying to feel out the room, seeing if people are interested. First person that kind of commits to the idea is Ed Bunk. He's like, yeah, sure, I'd do that, I guess.
Yeah.
I'm not doing anything better. And he's like, okay. Like, he sees that as a yes, I'm going to do this now. Ed Bunk sort of agrees, like, as, whatever. I'd do it, I guess. Like, it's like a joke. He doesn't think this is actually going to happen.
But he takes it as an emphatic endorsement of this idea. It's like, yeah, this is Ed's on board. Ed thinks it's a good idea, so let's do it. I'll get
and
the
rest of the party
right
is like him going from person to person, a montage of him, like, talking to people, trying to convince them to go, right? And as more people say yes, he adds them to the list of people like, oh, Ed's going, Hillary's going, blah, blah, blah. And they're all his friends, and he knows what they want in life, and he knows how to, like, he can convince Hillary to be like, well, we could, if we get there, we could elect you mayor. And she's like, interesting.
Ooh.
It's a good idea. And then she starts convincing people because she knows that she needs votes now.
Yeah.
Right? And she's the real political person. She's the one that's actually getting people to, getting tons of people to join up. And, this ends with, like, a hangover the next day, and he realizes, like, oh, shit, like, I've just convinced so many people. People are asking him now, like, are we actually going to Paris, Nebraska? Like, you said all this stuff, and I mean, he's still in the phase where he's still passionate about it, so he gets them all to move to Paris.
Yeah.
You know, all these college students show up on a bus in Paris, Nebraska. They get out in this shitty town with a post office and a diner, and that's it. There's like 12 people that live there already. Mm-hmm. There's, you know, probably 13, 14 of them, so they have the majority.
I would imagine, like, the whole town came out, because they, like, maybe he emailed them. Emailed the people being like, hey, we're coming in, you know, just me and like a couple friends. It's not a big deal. And, you know, the whole town comes out. It's all these, like a dozen old people holding up, like, a sign, welcome to Paris, haha, this is a picture of an Eiffel Tower, whatever. And then they all get off the bus, and there's just so many of them, and they're just, like, the old people's faces drop as they realize, like, oh, shit.
Oh, shit. A bunch of young people are here.
Or
like, they're gonna bring their goddamn craft beers and their
rock music. And their boba. I don't like balls in my mouth.
Their boba tea. I like that boba tea.
Nuh-uh. I don't even know what a lychee is. Never seen one. Seen a leech. Last weekend, I found a leech on the bottom of my foot.
My ass.
I was wading through the swamps. The Nebraska swamps.
You lost the accent a little bit there. The swamps.
The swamps.
Just like, anyway, they move there. It's a shitty town, 12 people, post office, diner. They get their free land, and they sort of, like, you know, they don't really have homes yet. So they, you know, go to they stay in the post office and the sort of really shitty town hall.
Yeah.
And they realize they have to build their own homes, and Harry Jones loves this, you know? A lot of people are, like, you know, he's like, right, jumps into it right away. Him and Ed Bunk are like, yeah, like, everyone, like, it's kind of fun at first because everyone's, like, telling him, like, what they kind of want their homes to look like, and he's like, oh, yeah, I'll get started on that right away. Like, this is great.
Oh, yeah, it'll be fun.
Ed Bunk's helping out, and they jump right into that job. And morale, but overall, is low, though, because people are working in their remote jobs in, like, the shitty town hall and post office with terrible Wi-Fi.
They all have to use
cramped.
Fred's, like, phone is using the data to make a Wi-Fi hotspot, and that's what everyone's using for their jobs. So they don't have Wi-Fi in this town. We ain't got the Wi-Fi. Elon Musk told us he'd give us the Wi-Fi for free, but we still haven't gotten it yet.
Still haven't gotten it. So Harry Jones is constructing. Fred's doing what he can to make people comfortable and persuade people that this wasn't a horrible mistake. Some people are already calling their parents and, like, maybe thinking about leaving.
Yeah.
Meanwhile, Hillary is already combing through the records and finds the town actually doesn't have a mayor. Because it has too few people to have a mayor, but now that they're there, it has enough people. And so she quickly...
maybe they...
You know, when things start to seem down, you know, she's like, you know, everyone's... The morale is really low. People are starting to think, like, people are like, all right, I'm quitting this. You know, this was a terrible idea. I don't know why we thought this would work out.
Yeah.
She sets up an election. You know, while this is happening, she set up an election. She got everyone to sign, like, you know, she passed around, like, the papers to, like, you know, get everyone to vote for her and all of her friends. You know, they're just sort of, like, casually doing it. They don't even realize what she's doing.
Yeah.
And she wins the election, and she's realized that there's an overwhelming, you know, like, large unused budget because people have been paying taxes to this local government that doesn't exist for so long.
Yeah. Because they,
and so she uses that, and so, like, at this moment when everyone's gonna leave, you know, like, everyone's leaving the building, and they're all like, you know, like, look at fucking Harry and Ed, they built one house. Like, that was supposed to be that seems like it's gonna be the big, like, thing that, like, you know, saves the day. Like, oh, they finally finished a house. Fred's like, look, we've got one house, and they're like, that's one house. We've been here for days. You know, we cannot just live in these 3 places for months. It's gonna take them forever to build all these houses. We don't have enough materials. We don't have money. We don't have any help, you know, this is going to take too long.
It's going to take forever.
And that's when Hillary shows up with, like, tons of supplies and workers and tons of money. And they're like, how did you do this? She's like, well, I just used, like, you know, the town's budget because you elected me mayor earlier, if you forgot.
Yeah, idiots. Would you not read the things you sign before you sign them?
Yeah, and so then the end of the episode is, like, everyone working together with, you know, some of the workers they've hired to like build their houses really quick.
Yeah.
Like build like, you know, small little cabins sort of thing.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah.
With, you know, Harry's.
And then they're all like,
episode.
I think it should probably, they're all, you know, they've built all the houses and the episode ends with a big bonfire and everybody's like hanging out by the bonfire, drinking beers, smoking a little reefer and being like, welcome to Paris. Nebraska.
Nice. Yeah, that's the theme song right there.
Yep.
Not even like instrumental, just you saying that.
Me
cut out that
saying,
clip. That's the
welcome to Paris, Nebraska. Ba-da-ba-ba-da-ba. There you go. That's a clean one for you.
Yeah, that was it. That's what I'm using.
Mm-hmm. Good.
Some episode ideas I've got. Ed declares war on cars and strives to ban them from the area. So, as of like the beginning of the show, everyone, you know, a couple of them have cars. Most of them took the bus there, but there's like a couple of cars, and like the other people in the town have cars, right?
Mm-hmm.
But Ed has declared war on cars. He doesn't want, you know, cars in his little slice of paradise, and he strives to ban them from like the whole town's like, you know, jurisdiction. Meanwhile, Brian Blind is trying to bust the pot farm that the Marks have set up. Mm-hmm. So Carly and Phil Marks have set up a pot farm on their slice of land, and Brian is the sheriff. You know, he's an old man, doesn't care much for the young people's drugs and wants to get rid of their pot.
Of course.
And the climax of this episode, the ending it is, he, you know, discovers, he like drives up to their house with the cop car, discovers their farm, and is like, oh, I'm gonna get you guys, like I'm gonna shut you down, throw you in jail, and Ed is actually like, well, you know, this evidence is not admissible, or maybe I guess the lawyer character would have to do this. Pavardi says, well, this evidence is not admissible because you drove into here. And he's like, what are you talking about? I'm the sheriff. I can drive wherever I want. It's like, actually, the other day, Ed banned all cars. He slipped this into a
local like budget, you know, meeting
local,
or something.
Our budget. Like he just slipped it in without really anyone knowing. And cars are banned, and you broke the law by driving up here. So therefore, like none of this is admissible, and you have to.
So I'm gonna need your keys. And he's like, what?
You have to go.
Give my keys? How am I gonna get home if I ain't got my keys? And she just hands him a pair of roller skates.
Or hands him a ticket to the trolley, which Ed has also set up.
Yeah.
It's very shitty at this point, but it's gonna get better as time goes on.
It's
probably just like one car. It's all wood, because like all just like exposed wood.
Yeah.
Because
Ed's the driver.
Harry built it, and it's very, you know, last minute put together sort of thing.
It doesn't even have a whistle. It's just got a chain he pulls on and says choo choo.
But it'll get better over time.
Yeah. Each episode it'll improve slightly until it's like in final episode of the season, it's like the Tesla of trolleys. Like everyone's got an iPad built into the back of their seat so the people behind them can see and play games.
Yeah.
You know, air conditioning, there's full like food service, and everyone, it's like a bullet train but a trolley. Everyone's like, Ed, where did these waitresses come from? Oh, they, you know, Japan. Whatever.
Yeah.
Illegal
Another
workers?
episode idea. We've got Parvati is thinking of leaving town, so she's the lawyer. Because, you know, she has to commute really far every day for school, and she, you know, kind of hates it. And wants to just live closer to school. But they need her vote to keep majority, because they only have one more person than the old people in the town.
Yeah.
Especially since Nate Pan just lives in the freaking woods now.
It's just some lunatic. He's not part of this.
He's not consistent. You know, he votes sometimes when they ask him to come in, but not all the time.
Yeah. If they read an especially political book at book club, he'll come in and he'll vote. But besides that, he's not really interested.
And they save this because Hillary ends up setting up a bus line, like to her school, which improves it for now. And she's like, you know, that's all right, but What really helps is that she sets up like a planned train station. So in the next year, they'll have a train station.
Oh, very nice.
Coming into the edge of town, so that they can, get to the other parts of the state. So yeah, that's the solution. Another idea I have is the sheriff elections are up. This is going to happen later in the show. I shouldn't have said this so early, but
yeah.
The whole antagonist is Betty and Brian, right?
Yeah.
They're the ones that are the problem. Brian being sheriff is the whole issue, constantly getting down on them. And the sheriff elections are when they finally can get rid of him, and they end up electing Nate Pan as sheriff, who doesn't know he's sheriff and lives on the edge of town.
Yeah.
And they elect him by accident because they're trying to elect Fred as sheriff. Because they're like, well, we need to get, someone that we can trust as sheriff, like someone that, it has to be one of us, but no one really wants to do it because they've got their other stuff, their other responsibilities. And the problem arises because, Brian is trying to stop them from voting. And ends up destroying all the votes in like a fire. And the only vote that survives is Nate Pan's because he showed up late and he voted for himself.
For himself,
so now,
yeah.
But he didn't think he would win, he just did that just because. And so then he left right after. But he's sheriff now. He doesn't even.
I was thinking because the wife of the sheriff, she owns the diner, which seems like it's the only restaurant that isn't run by one of these kids. So maybe we can have, like, the opening salvo of the episode is her, like, scheming with her husband, or, like, we need to stop these kids from voting. All right, here's my idea. And she, like, drugs all of the food. Like, she does, like, a big free buffet for the kids right before voting starts. And she, like, puts laxatives or something in the food. And so it's just, like, all of these horribly sick kids crawling over to the voting booths, but they just can't make it, and all the old people are just stepping over them, being like, whatever, and then, but they, maybe they're like, we're doing a recall, and they recall it, and then the kids all vote, and then the fire thing happens, and Nate Pan becomes sheriff, and then I assume he goes mad with power and starts arresting people for, like, breathing too loud, or you smelled a cricket without my permission.
We could do something like that. Yeah, I didn't really have any ideas for him being sheriff. I just sort of had him as, like, not actually realizing he's sheriff the whole time.
Yeah, but he goes crazy with the power, and then they realize how important the guy, the old sheriff, was, and so they go back to him and they beg for his help, and at first he's reluctant because he's enjoying his retirement, but he decides, you know what, this town's going to hell in a handbasket, and I'll be damned if I don't do a thing about it. And so he suits up, he gets, like, his full, like, reggae, he's got, like, it's like the ending of Hot Fuzz, like, he gets, like, a bunch of shotguns and stuff, and they're like, what are you gonna do? We're just firing him, you don't need to kill him, what the fuck's wrong with you? Come on, I don't get to do this very often, let me have this. You guys love your cosplay. I'm just dressing up. It's fun. They're like, fine.
Yeah, that'd be nice, because it'd be nice if, like, over time he eventually gets used to the kids and, like, no longer, like, is kind of happy with the way the town's turned out, realizes that, like, they're doing something good for the town.
Yeah, you know what I mean? Exactly. I mean, I think that's
originally he wants to get rid of them because they're messing up the town, but over time he's like, kids aren't so bad.
He's like a guy who's stuck in his ways, and then, the kids help him loosen up, he goes to we can have an episode where it's like, well, he's going to his high school reunion. The sheriff is going to his high school reunion, but they're all, like, 75, and he's like, I gotta look nice. So he goes to the designer lady, and she puts him in, it's a whole fashion montage thing, and she, like, dresses up the wife, and the wife is in love with her new outfit, and he's like, he doesn't want to admit it, but he's like, I like it, it's good. Get my cowboy boots, my blue suede shoes,
Blue suede shoes.
Yeah. But that's, like, a good arc for the series, is that, like, at the first the sheriff doesn't like them, but they eventually all, come together to create this town that they can all enjoy and be happy with. I had an idea for they, like, start their own TV network.
Oh.
Like, because,
TV.
like, like a local, local TV is and there's like a big portion of the budget that's allocated for the local programming, and they've just never used it. So it's like they just keep finding money, and so they build this enormous like premium, like high-tech, cutting-edge like TV studio with like all the best equipment, and it's all AI controlled, like iPads and all walls to control everything. And they start, like, each of the characters has their own show, and they're all, they're doing well, and they're actually, like, people are watching. And then eventually the FCC gets wind of it, and they, like, start bringing the hammer down on them, and we get, like, an FCC agent who's infiltrating the TV network. He's trying to be cool, he's trying to be hip with the kids. Yeah, but he's just this absolute narc, and they just... Eventually, they realize that this is so much more effort than it's worth, and so they just burn the thing down. And that's how the episode ends, is them, like, all standing outside.
Having a radio station instead, because there's, like, no rules for that for some reason.
Exactly. They're all just, like, staring at as the thing burns down, and they realize, wait.
They call it Radio Paris.
Is the FCC guy still in there?
He got out, right?
It's fine.
It's never really. We don't show that he got out or didn't get out. We're just like, I think he got out. Yeah, we didn't leave him.
They just walk away, and then post-credit scene is Nate Pan like digging through the charred wreckage of this town, and he finds like a ring that the FCC guy wears, and he just puts it in his pocket.
Puts it on.
Walks away.
yeah.
That's the end.
That'd be good. Another episode idea I got is Angel is convinced of a ghost in the old mining bunkhouse. So this Paris, Nebraska used to be a mining town. Mm-hmm. There's a quarry nearby, and there's a mining bunkhouse on the edge of town. They'll find this, and Fred's first reaction will be like, why didn't we sleep here in the beginning? Like, this is great. Like, we could have all been here. And Angel's like, no, we can't because of the ghost. And they start a Ghostbusters group.
Yeah.
It's Ed Bunk, Harry, and Fred, and Angel. And they sort of fall into the personas of the different Ghostbusters as this goes on. Mm-hmm. And it turns out that Nate Pan is the ghost and almost kills them because... so Nate Pan's a bit of a psychopath. He likes to trap animals and put them in here, and then catch them.
Yeah.
Like, it's like he's not killing them, he's just catching them. So it's not completely...
It's not
insane.
A total lunatic.
It's pretty fucked up. And he's using like hot BBs, so they get like shot. Like they'll probably end with Fred getting shot in the chest, and he thinks he's dying, and Ed's like holding him. He's like, "Oh my God, Fred, like, are you okay?" Or maybe it's Ed that gets shot, and Fred's like, "Oh, I'm so sorry. I should never
could have done
this was a stupid idea. I should have
you.
never brought us here. Like, it was all my fault." And Ed's like, choking, like he can't really speak. And he removes his hand from his stomach, and they look down, and they realize it's just a bruise.
Yeah.
And Nate comes out of the shadows and starts yelling at him, like, "What the fuck? Why are you guys in my...
Come on, what are you guys doing
here? Get the hell out of here."
I put a rabbit and a falcon in here like 3 weeks ago. I want to see if they bred. I want to see a frabbit. I want to see one. I've heard stories. No, you haven't, Nate. That doesn't... Why did we invite you to this? Because I'm great. And Nate shoots the gun again and hits him again. And he's like, "Oh man, I'm sorry about that. I'm just gonna put this down." And he runs away. Like he scurries back into the darkness holding the gun. And he's like, "I'll never give my gun up to you.
Yeah.
You're the government. That's what you are. Nate, you're the sheriff of this town. You know that, right?" Shut up. Runs away into the darkness.
Yeah, that'd be funny if he's really anti-government.
Yeah, he hates
he's the sheriff. And that'd be hilarious. Okay, so next episode I've got. So this is our Friends episode. Fred's coffee house is built, and it becomes the hangout, and a typical Friends episode ensues. You might even have some like Friends-inspired theme music this episode. So it's going to be a very relationship-oriented episode because it's about friends,
Yeah.
It's like based off of that. So as I said, like Hillary and Ed are the Hermione and what's it called?
Ron.
Ron. So they're the kind of will they, won't they through the series. And so Ed Bunk develops feelings for Hillary, but she's still dating her long-distance boyfriend from D.C. from when she had an internship on the Hill.
Can we never show her long-distance boyfriend, but just refer to him? It's like, yeah, it's Mitch.
Yeah, they'll show him we'll refer to him all the time.
His name is Mitch.
It's very much a political relationship, which is funny because they're both really young for that to be a thing.
No, I'm saying that I think we should reference, but never say explicitly, that her long-distance boyfriend is Mitch McConnell, 88-year-old senator.
It'll be subtly implied, but not confirmed.
Exactly. Yeah.
And it's very much like a political relationship is why they're together, not because they like each other. Mm-hmm. And she goes to visit him in D.C. and she finds out he's cheating on her. And Ed follows to confess his feeling, but sees, that she's upset and comforts her instead and makes up an excuse while he's there. Like, oh, I wanted to look at the shitty infrastructure here and see what not to do for our town. And she just kind of believes that because he's a bit of a weirdo.
Mm-hmm. I was taking pictures of all of the traffic to show everyone how bad cars are, so we could ban cars. We ban them again. We've banned them. We banned them once, banned them twice. It'll be just as good.
Good, yeah. and so he comforts her. And the subplot of this episode is Parvati and Maria. So Parvati's the lawyer. Maria Machetti is the Italian exchange student who wants to set up a restaurant. And so that this episode is her setting up the restaurant with Parvati's help because they're like the legal, things that she needs to get through to set up a restaurant.
Yeah.
And through the process, Parvati ends up hating Maria because of all the little things that makes her job so hard, and Maria's constantly changing her mind and can't really even understand her because she barely speaks English.
Mm-hmm.
And this whole feud develops mostly one-sided because Maria doesn't really even understand that Parvati's angry at her. And Parvati hates her at the end of it and ends up going to her opening thing just to make fun of the restaurant, and she's mad at her, but then she tries the food and falls in love with it, and immediately forgives Maria for all,
Well, maybe she calls Ice. Like, that's how that's the secondary plot, is that she has...
so that's the C plot. She called Ice to come get her, and now she has to stop them.
Exactly. And she's, arranged for Ice to show up at the opening of the restaurant, and it would be, just another twist of the knife, and then she, tries the food, falls in love, realizes that she's not actually that bad a person, she was just hungry and, irritated. And so she has to, distract Ice and make sure that Maria doesn't know that Ice is here for her.
Yeah, that she called him.
Yeah. And then she, eventually they end up carting away, the wrong person. She's just it's him. And she points at, some old man who's just like, what? What? And then we see him in cuffs later. But
it would be funny if he was actually an illegal immigrant from, the 1910s.
His name's spelled different on the Ellis Island passport he got.
It turns out he's a Nazi. That'd be great. He's a Nazi. He's snuck into America. Is that where you're going?
Yeah, that was what I was going to say.
You found renowned Nazi, blah, and she gets an award and brings renown to the town because of that. That'd be hilarious.
That would be good.
Everyone praises her, and she's like, let's pretend like I didn't accidentally do something terrible. Maybe she called Ice when she was, really drunk or something. Mm-hmm. We can establish early on that, she does crazy stuff when she's blackout drunk and she drinks too much.
Yeah.
Or something like that.
She's
that way it's not too malicious that she's calling Ice to get rid of somebody in the town.
Yeah, that is pretty heartless. But,
I like that, though. It's pretty fun.
Drunk. I like it.
Some of the another last episode idea, and then I'm gonna get into some of the plot lines, and then I'm practically done here.
Mm-hmm.
So Hillary's gonna run for representative one of the episodes, and the whole episode is gonna be a big push to get her elected to representative. But in the the way it's set up is it's basically their town and one other town that are actually important for getting her voted to be the representative. So they end up winning, and then she could bring even more money into the town by abusing the legal system. To, you know, they're gonna have. You know, this is where we start making the town look really, really nice.
Yeah. She's siphoning money from the other town, and the other town should be like a.
Yeah.
Should be like a. I think the other town should be. I love it in sitcoms when they do like parallels, like evil twins. So I think the town should be like an evil twin version of Paris.
It's
Berlin, Nebraska.
Berlin, Nebraska, yeah.
And it's everyone's like the exact opposite. And he's like, I'm not a history major. I'm a communications major. I don't know, an engineering major or whatever. And we get like all the
it's
stoners
all full
are
of cars, yeah.
Yeah, the stoners are all like
all
Blue Lives Matter people.
Yeah.
It's like everyone's exactly the opposite, but they end up winning because the Nate Pan of that town is like a genius, and he's super nice, and so he like swings them the vote.
Yeah,
he knows they're better.
The Ed Bunk and our Ed Bunk in that town, like we'll call him Ted Trunk. Ed Bunk and Ted Trunk.
Yeah.
Ed Funk. No, Ed Funk would be too much because he's going to be like a, you know, he's going to be all about, like, the contrast would be good. Because Ed Bunk's going to be all about, you know, no cars, walk everywhere, you know.
Easily
very
accessible.
Sort of European-style towns. And Ted is going to be all about cars, car infrastructure,
and
tons
like
of parking garages and parking lots,
McDonald's and you know, Walmarts everywhere. It's like when you drive through a small town in the US in reality, and it's just like the whole town is just lines and lines of various like massive corporations. Like that's all it is. I was doing that this summer.
Every building is really far away, and there's tons of roads intersecting between them. It's very complicated. And
you have to pay for your parking always, and it's all like super expensive.
Yeah.
Every cop is a traffic cop. Yeah.
Bunch of nonsense. That'd be good.
I had an idea for like there's a masked vigilante in the town, because I love doing a Batman, but he's in, you know, in a silly situation. But maybe this masked vigilante is like, it could be like a whodunit episode, because they like deduce that it could only be one of the young people, because the old people can't do it, but the vigilante is dressed as the mascot of their university that they all went to.
Oh,
like the you know, the chewing dominoes or whatever, the fighting Dalmatians or whatever. We'll come up with something funny.
Whatever it is, doesn't matter.
And like they have to figure it out, and then it's revealed that the person who is the masked vigilante is actually the guy who wore the mascot costume at school, and he was like,
mad because he wasn't invited.
Yeah, exactly. He was like, "You were my best friend. We sat together in every class." And Fred's like, "Huh? Who are you? What? Ah!" Bam.
Here you are.
And then the sheriff comes out of nowhere and just blasts him with a .44 Magnum. Just a bam.
Fucking dies.
Yeah.
Kind of fucked up. Maybe he just joins the town instead.
Or that. He joins the town as, like, I don't know what he could be.
We can figure that out. He'd
be the mascot of the town.
Anything, you know? The mascot of the town.
He dresses up like a giant Eiffel Tower. That's his thing.
Okay, some of the plot lines that we're going through, as I said earlier, we got Ed Bunk and Hillary Green, the will they, won't they of the series. Going through, we're going to have Fries. He's going to be questioning his decision because, he gets really passionate about it in the beginning, but then he sort of falls off, and he's sort of questioning his decision about actually doing this town and feeling like it's a bad idea, and, kind of wanting to go back, and is looking at other jobs and maybe grad school. Maybe one of his grad schools ends up working out. He's, like, thinking about going there instead. But, once his coffee shop gets built, and he has, like, he's got, like, this nice Parisian cafe. Maybe he's selling, like, books there as well. And he sort of becomes comfortable with this. And he realizes, like, oh, it's, this is what makes me happy. And so I'm going to stick with it.
Maybe he can have, like, a relationship with Parvati. She's the lawyer, right?
I have that actually down here.
Oh, that they have a relationship? Because I think it would
Yeah.
start with she is, like, studying, cramming for the bar exam or whatever. And, you know, she's spending all these late nights in the coffee shop, and he's, like, the only one working. So she's, you know, and they obviously become closer because of that. And then, eventually, big kisses. They do a big kiss.
I've also got Phil and Carly Marks. They're married, but their relationship is a little shaky because I think Phil has like a friend that visits town, right?
Yeah.
And he sort of reverts back to his old high school ways or something.
Oh yeah.
Of being like a jock, and it's less about their relationship and more about Phil's identity crisis. But also like, you know, Carly.
Is he
sort of like, you know, dealing with like, is he, you know, is he actually a different person? Is he the same person? Did I like manipulate him into being a new person? Like, you know, them figured out their relationship.
Yeah. And at the end of the episode, they're like, who cares? Let's hit this bong.
Yep.
Then it's like, we don't give a shit. That's fine. I'm fine with my personal identity, which is whoever I need to be to make the people around me happy. I'm a people pleaser.
Now, last romance I've got going is Harry and Maria Majetti. It's gonna be really subtle, like throughout the show. In the background, we see Harry studying Italian and constantly going to her restaurant because he wants to, you know, speak to her. And one of the big through lines of the show is gonna be Hillary's political rise, becoming a congressional giant. Full on, you know, just fucking giving the town tons of money and earmarking tons of stuff.
Yeah.
But like we're gonna hit like a peak of that, and then she's gonna start pulling back because she kind of feels like it's hurting her political career, helping the town so much.
Yeah.
And she ends up abandoning them completely when she becomes senator, and even ends up hurting the town. Like, I didn't come up with an idea for how she'd hurt the town. Maybe she
like says yes to a
starts appealing
company.
to the other towns, and maybe lets some big company come in and like establish roads or something.
Or put like, we want to have a factory here, and it's like, but that'll be right in the national park, and she's like, it's fine. And then Nate Pan is like, what are you doing? Because it's his home. It gets demolished.
Yeah.
And we can have a funny like shot of him, like, you know those sad animal commercials that you get?
Yeah.
It's just a sad animal commercial, but it's Nate Pan just looking very sad. And he's just this dirty, gross, hairy man in like very little clothing.
Well, maybe at the resolution of the episode, so it's going to end with her realizing her friends are more important than her career, right? And so she turns back on what she said, and she's like, oh, we'll get rid of that. And we'll get rid of that factory. And we'll get rid of the roads that she forced to be built in the town. That would be good. I like that because it sort of hurts her relationship with Ed Bunk.
Yeah.
And with, like, the idea of what the town's meant to be. Like, you know, she goes back on what she said. She's like, well, yeah, we'll demolish the roads and we'll get rid of that factory. And that's when Nate Pan comes out of the forest, like, scorch marks on his face and is like, you don't have to worry about it. It's gone.
It's done.
She's like, what do you mean it's gone? It's gone. Don't ask any more questions.
Did
you kill anyone? Know. Don't ask any more questions.
Don't ask any more questions. And then he like backs. It's that like Simpsons meme of Homer disappearing into the hedges. He just does that thing where he just like disappears into the darkness of the woods again.
Oh, yeah. I was thinking he like maybe he does that at the end, but like he goes down, sits down at the bar, like orders an espresso shot, takes it like it's whiskey, and then walks out of the bar.
Smooth.
The cafe.
Yeah. And then he walks out of the bar all mysterious, and then Fred's like, wait, you didn't pay for that. Get back here, Nate. You didn't pay for that. I don't think so.
Well, no, maybe he's not like that. He's like, did he? Maybe Ed's like, did he pay for that? And he's like, no. He's like, are you going to get him to? He's like, I mean, did you see him? I'm not going to ask him
fuck
right
with
now.
That guy? You kidding me? He's scary as hell.
He might have just killed a dozen people. I'm not messing with him. It's the goddamn sheriff.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, yeah, maybe they're asking, because I forgot he's sheriff. Maybe,
I forgot he's sheriff, too.
Yeah, maybe he's like, when he comes in, he says that. He's like, there's a new sheriff in town. he's like, well, you are the you were the sheriff. Like,
what are you talking about? Oh yeah,
the old sheriff's in town.
When do I get my badge? I'm waiting in the mail. You haven't told us your address, Nate. You don't have an address. You live in the woods.
He doesn't even have an address. Yeah, 316 Woods Avenue.
The woods. Pine tree. The second woods. On your left.
Right at the pine tree, left at the oak.
Yeah. Nate. Just here. And he hands him like a cardboard. Like a piece of cardboard. He writes sheriff on it and crayon hands it to him. That's your badge.
Yeah.
Thank you.
That's your badge. Thank you. It would be funny if he also had when he becomes sheriff, he has like a 44 Magnum now.
Yeah, exactly.
Like, how did he get that? Where did he get that gun?
Just pulls that up.
He's fucking mad, and he's always like waving it around too. He's like, "Who gave you that? Like, where did that come from?" I'm the sheriff.
I'm the sheriff. I gotta have it. Come on.
You feeling lucky, punk?
Yeah. Because I'm not.
I'm not.
I live in the woods. In what universe am I lucky? But look at this.
Well, he chooses to live in the woods.
He loves living in the woods. He loves wiping his ass with leaves. That's his thing.
It's his favorite thing.
Yeah.
All right, well, that's my show, Paris, Nebraska.
Paris, Nebraska. I liked it a lot.
Nice little tale of a bunch of people that moved to a small town and built it up as they liked.
Yeah, and they find a family.
Yeah, and they, build a community. Because that's nice.
It is nice. It's a nice, wholesome, fun show. I liked Paris, Nebraska. Thank you everyone for listening to the Very Reasonable Pilots podcast. I've been your host, Charles. Along with me as always has been my co-host, editor, producer, co-pilot, gunner, navigator, orator, and podcasting associate, Jake Golith. If you also liked Paris, Nebraska, please leave a like, a follow, subscribe, tell your friends, tell your family, tell your dog, tell your cat, and remember, we will be here next week for you to imagine a televisual series with us. It'll be so much fun. I've got it written down. It's the first series of this new notebook I have. It's not fun. It's sad and dark. It's great. Thank you, everyone.
Goodbye.
Goodbye.